Andy, your grandfather and Richard Rodgers wrote iconic musicals that were Broadway bound and then became films. And so there was Carousel, The King and I, South Pacific, and Oklahoma, which I think was their very first and super successful beginning. So that's pretty astonishing set of collaborations.
Yeah.
But I think what most people don't know, and because you're a musical historian, maybe you can help us understand, they sort of reinvented the whole genre of what constituted a musical. I mean, the musicals, vaudeville per se, were just like the music and the songs were fluffy. They were farcical. They were not integrated into the plot. They didn't have any real social meaning. It seems like they invented or reinvented the songbook, not just contributing to the American songbook, but the whole concept of what a musical could do.
There's so many ways to attack what you've just said. The first thing I would say is first look at the audience. The audience changes over time. And during the 30s, we were a decade of laughter and forgetting. And before that, yes, these musicals really just served as coat hangers for acts and stuff. So the book musical play is what Oscar's generally given credit for inventing. Though if you look past the simplifications of it all, in some ways he was doing that or trying to do that and failing with previous shows. He clicked with Oklahoma and he clicked with Richard Rodgers. But that audience changed. And that's what changed. You know, it got smaller, it got more educated. All of a sudden, people in the audience were able to listen to a plot rather than be entertained by legs and laughs.
So you're saying that in a way they reinvented something, but the times changed with them. So
always.
So that
whenever you can't answer a question, look at the audience and see who they are.
Yeah, but I look at it slightly differently. It's, by the way, I think about FOLCS the same way. If you ask our team, they'll say, that's what Thane tries to do. I never talk down to the audience. I talk up to the audience. I'm saying, you come with us. Just come with us. Relax. You might not, this is a little brainier, a little wittier, but just stay with us. And I think that that's what Oscar and Richard Rodgers did, that they were literally saying, this can be much more. It can be thought-provoking. It can be socially redeeming. Yes, it could have romance in it. It can be sentimental, but it could be also filled with social consciousness. Just watch what we can do in 3 hours.
True. In fact, they had much more success in the 40s than they did in the 50s. To some extent, the competition for doing Broadway musicals got the memo. They got the memo that people wanted book musicals and stories. And all of a sudden, we were having Rodgers and Hammerstein shows that weren't being written by Rodgers and Hammerstein. We were having, My Fair Lady and Guys and Dolls. And all of a sudden, for a while there during the 50s, they were not the head of the pack.
Yeah, but they seemed to me, though, Andy, to be slightly more, I think, more serious in the attempts to deal with social themes.
Truly.
Like Carousel, to me, sounds like it really about racism, and The King and I, in many ways,
about race,
and in some ways misogyny. These plays really had, the plot lines were incredibly important and socially conscious. And I'm not even sure the people they competed with. For instance, I want to just say that I guess it was your dad, your actual father, not your grandfather. Your dad was he Stephen Sondheim's roommate at Williams? Your dad?
No, it wasn't exactly that. They were next door neighbors in
because
Bucks County.
People do not know that your dad mentored Stephen Sondheim.
My grandfather.
It's a huge little thing that if you didn't know this before, that was the price of admission, among other things, to come on tonight. That Stephen Sondheim was mentored he was taught how to do this. And I think I read somewhere that that Sondheim basically said that your grandfather was like a playwright who wrote music, right?
I think that's true.
That's an incredible compliment to say, yeah, they were musicals, but he was a playwright that were told through the context of films. 850 songs he wrote. And I think it's important to remember that he died before the movie came out. I think the play came out at, I think I'm not mistaken, it was yesterday, literally yesterday from 1959. I think it was
Right.
November 16th, 1959 was the Broadway opening. Just to give you a sense of context, it took, I guess, 6 years to turn it into a movie. Oh, well, Andy, we need your photos. Let's see your mementos.
Oh, these are just that's Jerome Kern, with whom Oscar collaborated up until after Very Warm for May. They came to an end in
It's a
39.
great photo.
And he wrote Showboat with
Right,
Oscar.
of course.
And Showboat basically was a high watermark or a marker for where Broadway musicals
I
could go.
think that Richard Rodgers was so impressed with Showboat that he said, I got to work with this guy Hammerstein.
Well, I I think that Jerome Kern served as an inspiration to a wide range of composers.
Uh-huh.
Richard Rodgers loved him. Everybody looks to Jerome Kern and the original Princess Theater musicals as the kind of ground zero for where these musicals all start.
But isn't it also that I think I read this? Didn't your grandfather and Richard Rodgers go to Columbia together?
They did. They were 7 years apart. In fact, Oscar was one of those guys who couldn't quite leave the college. He served on the theater committee,
Oh, right. I saw
and
that. Yeah,
so when he actually was the person responsible for putting Rogers and Hart together,
that's right.
and they did write the three of them a couple of college tunes,
Right.
very forgettable.
Yeah.
That's just Dick and Oscar. I think this is during the King and I think.
Would you say they were friends? Did they like each other?
That's the best question so far. Do they like each other? No, no, they had their own best friends. Larry was Richard's best friend, and Jerome Kern was Oscar's best friends.
Wow.
They respected each other enormously, but by the time they'd gotten together, I know for a fact that Oscar had by that point worked on, in some capacity, 43 different musicals. So these guys were old guys. These weren't people like looking to start new relate.
I
This was
see.
a
They
very
weren't guys
business
like opened up
proposition.
a business in their 20s.
Nah,
Right. These guys were pros already.
these were guys who were pros. They took success and failure in their stride. There's always another show coming up. Mary Martin. Now, Mary Martin was already also in the original Sound of Music, which at the time in 59 got bad reviews, or not great reviews,
And
really
you
mean
know, I
reviews.
was friends with a guy who played the original Captain Von Trapp, Theo Bickel.
I love Theo Bickel.
I was friends with him, and this is another reason, really, why I wanted to do this to
And
celebrate him. Yeah. So he and Mary Martin, who we see right here, were the original Maria and Georg.
that's right. That's right.
Right.
And this is Julie Andrews during the filming, waiting for something during the Cinderella, during the filming of
I
Cinderella.
love that. I love that too. That's another thing they wrote,
Right.
Cinderella, which
Oh, in
many
fact,
people
it
were.
starts the whole kind of drama going between Mary Martin and Julie Andrews.
Yes.
The reason they did Cinderella was because CBS had done so well with Peter Pan
Right.
that they
Exactly.
wanted to do something with Julie Andrews. They wanted to do Cinderella. So they did that. And, you know,
And then in
Art goes, what
1965,
can
they
I do
did
to top
another
Julie
one with
Andrews?
Leslie Ann Warren.
Yes, that was the second version. Yeah.
Yeah, the second version.
That's Julie Andrews, ingenue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Almost
She was,
unrecognizable.
you couldn't pick a better person to play the roles of Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals than her.
Yeah.
She literally embodied everything that Oscar wrote for. I don't. I think they both look somewhat smitten.
Yes. Yes. They actually do.
They do. They're standing. One's standing to attention, and
Yeah.
Oscar's smiling. I don't know if I've
Yeah.
seen that.
They liked her.
And this is, I was thinking about the two songs in South Pacific about agency. Hmm?
This is Mary Martin, right?
Wash that man right out of my hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
No, this is South Pacific.
Yeah, South Pacific.
And often these shows have like a secondary male and female lead.
Yeah,
This one didn't. This one had secondary female and male choruses. You would have I want to wash that man right out of my hair coming from the women, and you would have There's Nothing Like a Dame coming from,
yeah, yep.
which was actually kind of and it was new. I don't recall that having happened before.
And this is another picture of
Just another
Oscar
picture,
and
yeah.
Richard with Julie Andrews. Great. Those are incredible. Thanks for sharing those. Angela, before we get to some of your reminiscences and mementos, you
Yeah.
were a kid in Salzburg, Austria, when the